Eugene smiled as he sank his teeth into the bloody steak, its juices dribbling down his chin, while the Kazan student stared in utter horror and revulsion. Mere hours earlier, Eugene Griffin, the first human xenobiologist to visit Kazora Prime, had eagerly awaited this opportunity to share Earth's rich biological diversity with the Kazan, a species of strict herbivores. He stepped out of the shuttle onto the gleaming campus of the prestigious Kazan Interstellar Academy, where his liaison Vega greeted him. Despite Vega's welcoming demeanor, his flickering eyes and tense posture hinted at unease. Hushed whispers and furtive glances followed Eugene as he walked the halls. Though humans rarely visited this sector, dark rumors had long swirled about their omnivorous appetites and violent history. Some Kazan saw Eugene's visit as a chance for scientific exchange. Others feared he would taint their youth and undermine their pacifist ideals. Now standing before the shocked classroom, Eugene realized his very presence had ignited a powder keg of controversy. The Kazan leaders were fiercely divided. His every word and action could tip the scales, leading to either unprecedented cooperation between their species or to a complete severing of ties that would leave humanity isolated in a hostile galaxy. Vega shifted nervously, caught between his duty to Eugene and the growing unrest among his people. The stakes couldn't be higher. A single misstep could unravel the fragile threads holding their tenuous peace together. As the students looked on in a mix of fascination and disgust, Eugene knew he treaded a razor's edge. He had to find a way to bridge this chasm of understanding before mistrust and fear consumed them all. The future of human-Kazan relations hung in the balance, and the cost of failure was too dire to contemplate. Eugene's first lecture began with a packed auditorium of Kazan students, their curiosity piqued by the exotic human in their midst. As he delved into the topic of Earth's ecosystems and the intricate food chains that sustain them, the atmosphere in the room shifted from curiosity to unease. Eugene clicked through slides of earthly predators and prey. On Earth, lions stalk their prey through the savanna grass, inching closer and closer until they explode into a burst of speed, taking down the weakest gazelle. The students fidgeted in their seats, murmuring amongst themselves. Wolves hunt in packs, working together to single out sick or injured deer, culling the herd. Gasps echoed through the room. Eugene explained how these carnivores play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of Earth's ecosystems. But the Kazan students, raised in a society that abhors violence and values all life equally, were visibly disturbed by these revelations. Whispers of barbaric and savage rippled through the auditorium. Eugene sensed the growing discomfort and tried to steer the lecture towards gentler topics, like the symbiotic relationships between plants and pollinators. But the damage had been done. After the lecture, a group of students confronted Eugene, outrage plastered across their faces. The boldest stepped forward, gesturing angrily. "How can you justify the cruelty of predation? It's disgusting that you humans revel in such violence." Eugene held up his hands, taken aback by their hostility. "I understand this is upsetting to you, but humans, like many Earth species, are omnivores. We've evolved to consume both plants and animals. It's part of our biology." This only fueled their fury. "You're no better than mindless beasts," another student spat, "corrupting our youth with your bloodthirsty ways." They stormed off, leaving Eugene stunned in the empty auditorium. As word of the confrontation spread across campus like wildfire, Vega found himself under increasing pressure from his superiors to rein in the dangerous human before he corrupted more students. The Kazan leaders demanded action, insisting that Eugene be contained and monitored at all times. Vega's head pounded as he paced his office, torn between his duty to his guest and the uproar engulfing the academy. Eugene was just trying to share his world, but the Kazan couldn't see past their own deeply ingrained beliefs. With every passing hour, the situation grew more volatile. Vega knew he had to act fast before. As the scandal threatened to engulf the entire academy, Eugene knew he had to act fast to salvage the situation. He approached Vega with a proposal, a field trip to the nearby wildlife reserve, where the Kazan studied and protected the planet's native flora and fauna. I think if they see the beauty and complexity of their own ecosystems firsthand, it might help them understand that all life is interconnected, Eugene explained, that even predators have a role to play in maintaining balance. Vega, desperate for any solution that might quell the rising tensions, readily agreed. He pulled some strings to arrange transportation and permission for the excursion. On the morning of the field trip, Eugene met the group of students at the reserve's entrance. Among them were some of his most vocal detractors, their arms crossed and eyes narrowed with suspicion. But Eugene remained undeterred, determined to find common ground. As they hiked through the dense foliage, Eugene marveled at the alien yet strangely familiar sights and sounds. He pointed out a cluster of vibrant bell-shaped flowers, their petals shimmering in the sunlight. Look at how these blooms are perfectly shaped to attract the xyloth beetle. The beetle feeds on the nectar and in turn carries pollen from flower to flower, enabling them to reproduce. The students leaned in for a closer look, their curiosity piqued despite their reservations. Eugene continued to highlight the intricate relationships they encountered, from the symbiotic bond between the Kazon equivalent of ants and the trees they inhabited to the elaborate mating rituals of the flying, iridescent creatures that resembled dragonflies. Even the most skeptical students found themselves drawn in by the wonders of their world, seen through the lens of Eugene's knowledge and enthusiasm. They began to ask questions, their hostility gradually giving way to genuine interest. But the peaceful atmosphere was abruptly shattered by a piercing cry. The group whirled around to see a massive, reptilian creature burst from the undergrowth, its powerful jaws clamped around the throat of a small, deer-like animal. The students gasped in horror as the predator dragged its struggling prey to the ground, its razor-sharp claws digging into the soft flesh. Some turned away, unable to watch the grisly scene unfold. Eugene, however, remained calm. He motioned for the group to stay still and quiet. "I know this is difficult to witness," he whispered, "but this, too, is a vital part of the ecosystem. The predator is not cruel or evil. It hunts to survive, just as its prey grazes on the vegetation. Each plays a role in maintaining the delicate balance of this place." As the students watched, transfixed, the predator dispatched its prey with a swift bite to the neck. It began to tear into the carcass, its powerful jaws making short work of the flesh. "The predator's kill will feed not only itself, but also its mate and offspring," Eugene explained softly. "And the remains will nourish the soil, enabling new plants to grow. Nothing is wasted in nature." The students were silent, processing the raw primal scene they had just witnessed. Some still looked shaken, but others nodded slowly, a glimmer of understanding dawning in their eyes. As they made their way back to the academy, Eugene could sense a shift in the group's dynamic. The hostility had ebbed, replaced by a thoughtful, contemplative mood. He knew that one field trip wouldn't erase a lifetime of cultural conditioning, but it was a start. Vega pulled him aside as they reached the campus gates. "I think you may have gotten through to them," he murmured, his eyes wide with surprise and relief. "I've never seen them so engaged, so willing to consider a different perspective." Eugene smiled, exhausted but hopeful. "It's a small step but an important one. We have to keep the dialogue open, keep showing them that diversity isn't something to fear, but to celebrate." As he watched the students disperse, their animated chatter echoing across the courtyard, Eugene felt a flicker of optimism. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but for the first time since he set foot on Kazora Prime, he believed that understanding was possible. He turned to Vega, ready to plan their next move. As the debate reached a fever pitch, the auditorium doors burst open with a deafening bang. A mob of Kazon students poured in, brandishing crude clubs and metal pipes, their faces twisted with rage as they charged the stage, screaming, "Death to the carnivore!" Eugene whirled around, his eyes wide with shock. Before he could react, a jagged chunk of metal hurled from the crowd struck his forehead. Pain exploded through his skull as he crumpled to the floor, blood streaming down his face. Vega leapt into action, throwing himself between Eugene and the advancing mob. He spread his arms wide, shouting for calm, but his pleas were drowned out by the students' frenzied chants. Security forces flooded the auditorium, their stun batons crackling with energy. They waded into the fray, grappling with the attackers and dragging them away in restraints. The air reeked of ozone and fear. Eugene lay dazed, his vision blurred and head throbbing. He felt strong arms lift him, carrying him through the chaos towards awaiting medical transport. Snatches of frantic conversations swirled around him. First, no extensive cranial trauma. To prepare for emergency surgery. The world faded in and out as Eugene was rushed into the sterile confines of an operating theatre. Masked figures loomed over him, their tools gleaming under harsh light. Then, merciful darkness claimed him. He awoke to the steady beep of monitoring equipment, his body leaden and mind foggy. Bandages swathed his head, his face a mosaic of bruises and lacerations. Vega sat at his bedside, head in his hands. "Eugene, Vega's voice cracked with emotion. "I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry." Eugene struggled to sit up, wincing at the bolt of pain shooting through his skull. "You're sorry?" he rasped. "I came here to teach, to share knowledge, and this is what I get in return." Vega flinched as if struck. "I thought my people were better than this. I thought we could learn from each other, but I was wrong. We're not ready. Maybe we'll never be ready." Eugene closed his eyes, a bitter laugh escaping his split lips. "Maybe we're just too different. Maybe there's too much fear and misunderstanding between our species. I thought I could bridge that gap, but it seems I've only made things worse." In the days that followed, as Eugene recovered in the medical facility, the Kazon authorities scrambled to contain the fallout. Under pressure from the galactic community, they issued a formal apology, offering to compensate Eugene for his injuries and trauma. But Eugene wanted no part of it. The once vibrant campus now felt cold and alien, the curious stares of the students replaced by wary, even hateful glances. He no longer felt safe or welcome on Kazora Prime. With a heavy heart, he informed the university that he would be cutting his teaching assignment short and returning to Earth. The Kazon had made their feelings clear, and he couldn't continue to fight against such deeply entrenched fear and prejudice. As Eugene boarded the transport shuttle, his meager belongings tucked under one arm, Vega stood on the landing pad, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'm sorry it had to end this way," Vega said, his voice barely above a whisper. Eugene paused at the shuttle's threshold, looking back at the world he had tried so hard to understand. "So am I, Vega. So am I." The shuttle's engines roared to life, lifting Eugene away from the fractured remains of his dream. As Kazora Prime dwindled to a mottled orb below, he couldn't help but feel a profound sense of loss. He had come with such high hopes, determined to forge a bond of understanding between two disparate cultures. But in the end, the gulf had proven too wide to bridge. The Kazon would have to reckon with the consequences of their actions, the knowledge that their fear and ignorance had cost them a chance to grow and evolve. And Eugene would have to find a way to heal, to come to terms with the bitter realization that... You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.